Hughes did was firmly ground it in trauma, in psychological principles about trauma, domestic violence, and sexual abuse. And she could not testify about the specifics. Expert witnesses are not allowed to
What's up,
clinically
everybody?
examine a witness or a victim or the defendant. But generally, she talked about why abuse victims stay in abusive relationships and how they cope with the abuse. And some of the things that she described mimicked the testimony of Cassie Ventura and others, how she felt like she couldn't get out of the relationship because he controlled her finances. Her friend Carrie Morgan and Dawn Richard both mentioned how during a beating that Combs would inflict, that they said they witnessed, she would curl up in a fetal position. And Dawn Richard and the expert, Hughes, said that one coping mechanism is to curl up in the ball on the floor.
We also heard from a former employee of Sean Combs, George Kaplan, who was called to testify. Who is he?
He was a former assistant, about 15 months. He worked as Sean Combs' executive assistant. He said they one of 4 of them during his tenure. And for a time, he was meant to be the cleanup man from the freak-offs. He said he would first stock the hotel rooms. He said there was a hotel bag that contained baby oil and Astroglide and other items that the jury's already heard about. And then he was meant to clean up the hotel rooms himself, tidy them up, he said, to protect Combs' reputation.
I have to ask you, at one point he was able to get an immunity order. What was the reaction when that happened?
He got immunity.
Well, the jury didn't see it, but he said he was otherwise going to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. We don't know why he wanted it. We don't know whether he's about to testify about crimes that potentially he committed. That
they all dirty.
That kind of an immunity.
All of dirty.
He did testify, though, about procuring illegal drugs for Combs. He said he would give cash that Combs gave him and then bring Combs the bag of drugs, including
the trafficking and extorting and blackmail and all kinds of shit.
Courthouse. Thank you so much. Let's dig into all of this. We've got our ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer with us. You were also there in court.
All right, let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Let's do a little recap for today. And by the way, tomorrow, mañana, Kid Cudi is supposed to testify. He didn't testify today. Unfortunately, he didn't testify today. But today, they dropped evidence. We're going to get into the recap. I just want to show you something real quick. Lord Almighty. Feds reveal evidence of baby oil, heels, substances, toys, lingerie, and more from the Miami mansion. Oh, wow. Look at that cabinet. Let me pull up the chat. Pull up the chat on the big screen, the 4K. Beautiful screen. Then eventually I want to upgrade them again. But what's up? Wow, so we got the Astroglide. I don't know what that is. Pink what? Pink. Oh, look. Pink Poontang. Oh, they got a rubber ducky. Okay, what's up with the rubber duckies? They got bottles and bottles and bottles of baby oil, but then you got a rubber ducky in the middle of it. Wow. What's that for? I don't know what they're doing with those ducks. Jeez. Maybe the ducks are dipped in baby oil. Maybe there was so much baby oil that the ducks were floating in, containers full of baby oil. And then they got the nitrous oxide. Whoa. They got laughing gas. Okay. Nitrous oxide food grade. Okay. Cabinets full of baby oil and Astroglide. Exhibit 1B247. High heels. This came up today too. Oh my God. What is... Oh! This thing over here. Thing's called a flicker. Okay. What's that? Oh, apple pop blast. Strawberry pop. What, pops? Damn, blast pops. It's probably got to be crazy with the nitrous oxide, and then you put the pops in your mouth. Pop. Heels. We got ropes. Wow, heels. Okay, who's wearing the heels? Puffy? Oh, Kid Cudi. Oh, is that for Cassie? Got more rings here too. Rings. Wow. Okay. Now be careful what we're swiping on. Wow, okay. Popsy lingerie? Okay. So some of the stuff seen today. Let's get in with it today. Let's get into it. We'll put this up on the screen and we'll get started. Inner City Press this morning. I'm really excited for tomorrow, man. By the way, tomorrow I'll jump on live whenever Kid Cudi testifies. It's nothing like a Diddy case. Diddy, let's see, zoom. How's that look? How we looking there? On that Diddy shit, yeah. All right. So today I heard it was like evidence. There was this expert that came on that she was actually a trauma expert for the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. So before the jury gets in this morning, the defense letter about Dr. Hughes preserves your objections, Ms. Shapiro, but the defense letter is not in the docket. Judge, when Dr. Hughes is on the stand, I'm sure Mr. Bach can raise that in cross. Okay, what about these texts involving Miss Cassie and buying drugs in Boston? Well, we think that's irrelevant. Who cares if she bought drugs? That shouldn't come into play. But if they redacted it, it's not hearsay that she was in Boston and on her own. I think that's why Mr. Agnifilo wants it in. Judge says, I'll think on it. Prosecution says, we're concerned that Miss Porter's death may be used to build sympathy for Mr. Combs, and we wouldn't want that. And lead jurors to believe that if he is convicted, his children may, I'll think on it. As to Kid Cudi, the defense is concerned about hearsay. Mr. Mescudi will not be testifying today. Did I miss that? Apparently they sent some type of email out. 10:45 p.m. No, it wasn't in record. Why not? Need to take a week to redact that. Okay. All right. Please get the witness, Mr. Gannon, and check on the jury. Welcome back, Mr. Gannon. He enters in. Let's continue. So this was the whole thing with the evidence that was seized on the Star Island, Miami property. So GX215, what's this? High heels and sex items in the master closet. What's this? 3 cell phones found in one of the boots. Display the Gucci bag for the jury. Pull up GX10A and the stipulation, zoom in on paragraph 5, a white plastic bottle. It contained a liquid residue of meth and liquid MDMA. Whoa, shit. Wow. That's how they're up for days and messing around and having freak-offs for hours on end. These pills were found with Tesla imprint on them. Damn, I didn't even know they had Tesla pills. What? How they good? The Tesla pills? These had the active ingredient Xanax. Wow. This $100 bill had residue of cocaine. They're really getting lit up. Mr. Gannon, what's this? A dark wood box with the word Puffy on top. Just like Johnny Depp. Didn't Johnny Depp have a box with coke in it or something? It said Johnny or something like that? Allegedly, how do you know that this is the Astroglide and the baby oil that you seized? How many bottles each? 31 Astroglides and 25 baby oil bottles. Any other cell phones found? Yes. BX1301, page 3, paragraph 11. Was a gun found in the suitcase? Yes, a 45. Hold the bullets up for the jury. No further questions. Cross. The day of the search, you knew that Mr. Combs was leaving the country with his twin daughters. Objection, sidebar. After the sidebar, Combs, Tenny Garagos, in planning the search, you knew that none of the targets of the investigation would be there. Objection, overruled. The plan was to have him not there, but we had contingencies. Garagos says, what type of vehicles did you use? An armored vehicle. And you guys might remember that day that day with Diddy, when they raided, we actually did that on the Ikemel CC channel.
Had wrapped up a tour of the Orleans.
Oh shoot, what the hell was that? What was that? Man, we might have to update this New Orleans thing again tonight. There's a lot of stuff going on. I did a little update if you missed it, but who knows if something else happens. It's been crazy. Anyway, Ikemel CC, we were live on that. It's one of the top live streams on the channel. That's ironic too, on the CC channel. Oh. We had that Diddy video that blew up the other day. And then we had this live stream, Diddy's house raid. One of the first people on that over a year ago. Wow. Wow. All right. So armored vehicle and a boat come in by land and sea? Question mark. It's common practice, he says. Garrigo says 80 or 90 agents? Not all at the same time. Garrigo says you found 6 people and kept them in handcuffs for an hour. No, ma'am. There was one individual who wasn't happy with us and wasn't cooperating, so we kept him in handcuffs longer. Because he wasn't happy with cuffs? There was a music studio and a guest house, right? DX305. Do you recognize this? Yes, ma'am. It's a studio. So I heard this part when they were questioning about, like, damn, you guys came in an armored vehicle. You guys came by land and sea and helicopters and all this stuff and 90, 100 agents and stuff. They were kind of making it seem like you guys are kind of reaching, or like you overdid it a bit. Yeah, sandwich. Yeah. Academics. And so, okay, so did you recognize this? Yes, ma'am. It's a studio. Move to admit. It's a photo of mixing board, keyboards, love and jeweled script over it. Love and jeweled script over it. Okay. While the agent Gannon is still on the stand, here's a courtesy to Inner City Press Court artist Elizabeth Williams with Gannon with the gun. Okay, showing off the gun. With head and hands, May 21st. Ooh, was that Puffy? Oh no, Puffy. Tony Garrigo says the gun was wrapped in a towel. It didn't look like how you displayed it to the jury yesterday, right? Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. Did you find any photos of Mr. Combs with these firearms? We did not. Do you agree that handguns, metal, is easier to get fingerprints than maybe any other type of device? Can't say if it's easier, but it can be done. Can you get prints off of a gun easier when it's inside? I think so. At HSI, you have Mr. Combs' DNA, right? I don't know. When he was arrested, the government took DNA swab, right? I don't know. How don't you know, motherfucker? Hold up the Gucci bag. Tony Garrigo says the drugs were in this bag and in the puffy box, right? Yes. Your Honor, I'm going to introduce a sealed exhibit with the help of IT. May I approach the witness? Yes. We may proceed. DX304. Prosecution says cut off the screens. Can't see the exhibit. Tony Garrigo's, please don't say the names of the people in this photograph other than my client. Who's in the picture? Who else is the picture? Don't talk about it. Prosecution says, may we confer with counsel? You may. Deputy, we may take the exhibit down now. Garrigo says, Agent Gannon, you live in Florida. South Florida, baby. Don't many people have guns in their homes? Objection! Rephrase. Why is that so crazy? What kind of... That's a regular question. Do you have a gun in your home? Yes, no further questions. So they're just trying to say, like, you guys pull all these guns, all this stuff, and what's the big deal? Trying to say, but with Diddy, I guess the context matters for what they're trying to say and prove, I guess. The threats, the veiled threats, all that stuff. Just as redirect, prosecution says no. Next witness, the government calls Dr. Don Hughes. What is your profession? A clinical and forensic psychologist. I treated people who were in World War II with such an honor. How many times have you testified in the court? 60 or 65 in SDNY and ENDY, and in the Northern District, also New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Virginia. We offer Dr. Hughes as an expert. No objection. What do you anticipate covering? Why victims stay? Memory. Have you been retained by the government? Yes. What is your hourly rate? $6,000 for the day. All right, make that money, girl. Woo! Woo! Why do victims stay? There are psychological bonds and psychological consequences of the abuse. What are the levels of fear? It ranges from physical violence to butterflies. Violence doesn't have to happen all the time. What is psychological violence? Dr. Hughes says intimidation, throwing things, telling you what you can do and where you can go. Objection! Hold on, I'm going to strike that last answer. Prosecution says, what can be the role of a sexual abuser? It puts the victims in significant physical fear, psychological fear. What does it prevent? Leaving, shame, degradation. They don't want to think about it. What is emotional abuse? Putting down our partner, feeling like a piece of crap. Shit, that's people go through that shit every day. What about financial dependence? The abuses, controls, housing and transportation, taking away her laptop. Objection, sustained. Are you familiar with love bombing? That honeymoon phase, the abuser showers her with gifts and affection to get her back. Damn, so you can't be nice. You can't gift anybody. You can't look at anybody. You can't whatever nobody. It's abuse. Love bombing is a thing, though. I remember I had a, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's like everything is a thing, right? But, well, that one chick, I don't know if it was love bombing. She was bipolar, so I think she was on her high, her manic high, you know, the first day. But it was a lot of fun, like, I guess, the first night. But, poof, when they have the lows, it's low. But love bombing, I love you, you're amazing, you're the best, I'll marry you, here you go, all these gifts. I love you. Maybe they beat you. In this case, maybe let's say he beat Cassie, and then he's like, I love you. Here's this. Here's the Gucci bag. Here's the drugs. Blah blah blah. I can't live without you. I love you. Life without you would be so sad. Prosecution, does the attempt to leave happen over time? Yes, it takes multiple times. Which is the most common coping mechanism, is trying to work it out because of the trauma bond. You don't want to lose your partner. Personal coping mechanisms. How does placating or appeasing work? We're trying to avoid abuse. Okay. What is minimization? Dr. Hughes says the victim says maybe they had a bad day at work. Maybe they were intoxicated. It's a way to stay in their relationship, but increase their risk. It's not a long-term strategy. It gets from one assaultive episode to the next. What about the power relation? A person can have power as principal of a school. The victim asks, who is going to believe me? When does the victim finally speak? In a safe environment or after psychological help? Prosecution says, what type of language do victims use when they first speak of it? They minimize it. They are piecemeal. They remember the chipping paint on the ceiling, the smell of alcohol on the perpetrator's breath. Sidebar, then a cross-examination. It will be by Jonathan Back, Alexandra Shapiro's husband, only recently brought on as Combs' 10th lawyer. Damn, boy got a whole slew of high-paid attorneys. Combs is back. Your clients, you observe them closely, their cognitive style. She says, yes. People don't fit into boxes, right? There are categories, she says. But you have to listen to particular individuals, right? I'm not divorced from my training. When you do forensic work, you want a lot of sources of information, right? If it's relevant. You look at police reports, witness reports, and the like, correct? Correct. You're familiar with malingering. I am. People can fabricate emotional responses, correct? They can. Mr. Bach, should we break here? And the Bach says, I don't like a good cliffhanger, and they took a break. But wait, during the break, they bring in George Kaplan to invoke his Fifth Amendment rights. That's the clip we just saw when we first started the stream. Did you receive a subpoena? Yes. Do you intend not to answer on the 5th this morning? or mourning grounds? Yes. Comey, Your Honor, please sign this immunity deal. Judge, has he read it? No. Read it first. The attorney says, read it. I will sign the immunity order. The government will seek to admit Exhibit GX69A. Now they take a break. So you got an immunity deal, bro. They're all up to something. They're skeezers. It's not just, well, Combs is Combs. He did a lot of shit. But these people, they got their hands dirty too, I think. I think they all got dirty. They're back. Your Honor, we emailed you an exhibit over the break. We object to it as hearsay, says the defense. The statement, thank I feel you from, what? The statement, thank I feel you from Mr. Combs is ambiguous. He could be saying for the advice. Judge says we'll pick it up after Dr. Hughes. Please let her back in. The jury enters. Combs is Bach. You are with the American Psychological Association, which says you should only render an opinion after an examination, right? Where? This is a different role. You have not gathered information about this case, right? I am not rendering an opinion on any individual. There was someone named Cassie, but you don't know what she said, right? I don't. You testified across the river in EDNY, right? Right. And you say the same thing, even those cases are different, correct? It's to help jurors understand. But it's their job to consider their case, right? You don't publish data on the patients you have evaluated, do you? It's confidential. So I can't cross-check your experience, the basis of what you're saying, right? Combs's box continues to say, people might go to a civil lawyer to make a little money, right? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Wrong button. Let me get that again. So you don't publish on the patients you have evaluated. And she says it's confidential. So I can't cross-check your experience, the basis of what you're saying, right? And Box says people might go to a civil lawyer to make a little money, right? Objection. Let's move on. In civil litigation, you might looks for malingering, right? You give a webinar about giving expert testimony, right? Yes, for battered woman. Let me show you DX sidebar. Damn, the judge intervenes. Oh, not the rubber duckies, man. During the sidebar exhibit from Star Island Raid, baby oil and Astroglide. You got the nitrous oxide right there too, baby. Nitrous oxide. You got the Astroglide, that pink, whatever that is, pink pun. And you got them rubber duckies. Oh, man. Wow. Okay. Judge says, jurors, we're going to send you to the jury room for a bit. All rise. They leave. Judge says, yesterday, Ms. Shapiro submitted an exhibit ex parte. Now reviewing a document, what should I focus on? It shouldn't show this witness has a bias. Judge says she can be shown the document about training domestic violence advocates and asked if she remembers, but I won't admit it as evidence until she denied it and it becomes prior inconsistent statement. The witness re-enters in the jury. Combs defense says, does this document refresh your recollection? The doctor says yes. Let me look at it more closely. Yes. The fourth part about navigating cross-examination, right? Yes. Defense says, most of your income comes from court-related work, right? She says, no, maybe half. I got the money like that. Maybe half. This ain't shit for me. Defense says, you've raised your rate to $600. Dr. Hughes says, it's been the same for some time, but you've raised it. Dr. Hughes says, commensurate with others. Defense says, You've been retained hundreds of times, but you've never come into court and testified in defense of a man accused of sex crime. That's correct. I don't evaluate offenders. Ooh. You met with the prosecutors 6 times to prepare your testimony, right? That's correct. Prosecution says, can we have a sidebar? I don't like this. Judge says you may. They come back. Defense says, did you discuss the topics with the prosecutors? She says, with all due respect, it was mostly educating them. Oh, okay. Defense says, but you know nothing about the case. Were you advising them on how to present evidence in a domestic violence case? Didn't you help them write briefs? Prosecution didn't like that again, I guess. Can we have a sidebar? Yes, but I'll keep it brief, shorter than the last. Sidebar hasn't, in fact, been shorter. So they have a long sidebar. Judge says, sorry it wasn't shorter. Ms. Steiner. Prosecution says, you reviewed some filings to the court in this case. It was all related to the subject of your expert testimony, right? Dr. Hughes says, correct. In fact, we redacted, you did. Prosecution says, you are board certified forensic psychologist, right? Yes. How many of those are there in the New York State? I think about 40. Okay. Recross. Defense says your defense work is almost entirely for victims of domestic violence, right? I'm not sure that's true. You worked with Mr. Brian Steele, who was defending a woman charged with reacting to domestic violence, right? Yes. Defense says, and Mr. Steele decided not to use you after meeting with you. Judge says, move on. He didn't like that either. No further questions. Next witness, the defense calls George Kaplan. Okay, when did you work for Mr. Combs' enterprises from 2013 to 2015? Prosecution says, what fell under the holding company? Clothing, liquor, entertainment. I was an executive assistant to the chief operating officer. Where did you work? 1710 Broadway, NYC. What was your next position? Executive assistant to the chairman, Mr. Combs, from September 2014 to September 2015. Who did you report it to? Miss Karam, KK. She essentially ran Mr. Combs' life. Oh. Where did you report? LA, Los Angeles. What did you do? Carried his bags, made such things when he wanted them, as he trusted me more, he had me around more. I set up hotel rooms. How many hours a week? 80 to 100 hours a week. Damn, putting in that work. Wow. How much did you get paid? $125,000 a year to start. What did you do in the morning? Make sure everything was in the bathroom. The breakfast cooked. He was recording a mixtape, so we worked late. Who was security? Uncle Paulie, D-Rock, and Ruben. Later licensed security in the second half of 2015. How frequently did you communicate with Mr. Combs? Kaplan says multiple times a day. Things could be found in the back, an iPad, drugs, whatever. Did he threaten you? He threatened my job. How often? Maybe monthly. He'd say he was only to be surrounded by the best people, and that he wasn't, for example. And that he wasn't. Oh, okay. For example, he went me for 1 liter water, and I bought back 2.5. He said no. He went me for one, I guess maybe reprimanded him? Or asked him? Yeah, for 1 liter of water, and I brought back 2 liters. He said no. How did you travel on his jet? Or going in, advice to make sure it's all set up. How did you set up the hotel rooms? There was a bag, I unpacked it, clothes, candles, Astroglide, baby oil. Who bought this? Often me. In what cities did you set up hotel rooms? LA, New York, Miami. In LA, Mr. C, Bel Air, the Intercontinental. In New York, Trump by Columbus Circle. In Miami, the SLS. How was it booked? Frank Black, based on Big E's Frank White. Would you clean up the rooms? Yes. Bottles of baby oil, Gatorade. Once brown crystallized powder on the counter of the sink. What did you clean up? Not hotel staff? Or so why? Why did you clean up, not the hotel staff? It was implied to protect his public image. I was keen on doing that. Explain. Objection. Overruled. I found hotels would sell photos to newspapers to shame guests. What? I found hotels would sell photos to newspapers to shame guests. Did he reach out to you from the room? For food, clothes, sometimes drugs, I did. What drugs? Dope kit. What's a dope kit? Illegal drugs, question mark? Defense says, I object to the term illegal. What other drugs? Advil, ketamine. What's he asked for? I picked up drugs for him, MDMA. Who asked? Mr. Combs in LA and Miami. Kaplan says in Miami, Mr. Combs asked me to call a person. He came and gave me a bag of pills, MDMA. I gave him cash. I gave him pills to Mr. Combs. Prosecution says, and in LA, Kaplan, I went out to meet the person in Hollywood. I gave money. He gave me a bag. Who cares about this shit? Yeah, he bought drugs, whatever. He got high. What's the point of this shit? I guess what is this racket? I guess the racketeering thing or what is? Who cares about this drug shit? He bought drugs. We know. Okay, wait, there's more. Defense says the proffered email chain is about Gina, and Gina is out of the case. She's not coming. Oh, I thought she was going to testify. That's what defense said. She's in the indictment, prosecution says. Defense says they could get her here, and they're choosing not to. I'll submit the letter by 10. Tomorrow, Kid Cudi. Oh, is that it that was it for today? Okay, we're going to take a look at some of the articles. I mean, come on, man. I get it. They got to paint a picture and all this stuff. But this guy, oh yeah, I bought him drugs and I traveled here and there and he paid me $125 a year. And he said that he threatened me that if I wasn't the best, he'd get rid of me. Okay, and? So Kid Cudi could be testifying tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. Kid Cudi, you know, he was very expressive and multiple times he would put on a dress. I don't know if that was part of the ritual, but he was seen a lot of times performing and putting on a dress and kind of like, you know, standing on his heels of his feet and stuff, twerking a little bit. So this is the evidence that we saw. Oh man, the pops, I guess this thing wraps around the phallus, and that pleasures the woman. You got heels, pops. You got all kinds of stuff here. High heels, rope. Another vibrating phallus device. Okay. They were previously shown bottles of lube from the raid. 80 to 90 agents searched the I'll Be Missing You rapper at Florida's home. Okay, Astroglide. Oh, I'm hiding. Astroglide, baby oil. 2 pictures showed sex toys, including multiple dildos sitting on the shelf in a cabinet. Numerous images of guns, ammunition, and handguns. AR-15 semi-automatic firearms. What was this guy wearing that took the picture? These are the guns right there. Those are maybe the AR-15. Dozens of images were shown to the jury. All right. So today was like an evidence day, pictures. We had the special forensic psychologist hired by Amber Heard. Dawn Hughes testified today, and she's I remember her from the trial. Forensic psychologist is a blind witness, meaning she hasn't. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. She hasn't interviewed anybody. She hasn't talked to Diddy. She hasn't talked to Cassie. Nobody. She's just. I didn't even know they had a term like that, blind witness. I guess just to give her expertise on victims. Diddy's bathroom mirror was scrawled with handwritten messages hyping up the once beloved hip-hop star. So it says, what do you want? Question mark. Love you. Love Diddy. You a legend. And I don't know, the Puff Daddy. Handwritings and scribblings on the wall. Or the mirror, I should say. You a legend. You're an icon, Puff Daddy. Upward motion. Forensic psychologist testimony is on pause for lunch. Diddy's publicist Holly Baird with smiles as she arrived for his trial Wednesday. Okay, is the family there? Diddy's son. All right, the family's there. Bad boy. Diddy's sons, Justin and Christian, and his publicist supporting him in the court. Forensic psychologist testifies after lunch. He's basically a victim's advocate. AR-15. Is there anything else for today? Kid Cudi expected to take the witness stand Thursday. All right, tomorrow. I hope it's interesting. I don't know if it's going to be like really short. Yeah, he blew up my car and boom, off. Oh, okay, Kaplan is only slated to be questioned for roughly another 30 minutes by the prosecutor. So maybe after that testimony, he'll come on. Cudi, his name came up many times at the trial since he dated Combs' long-term on and off again girlfriend, Cassie. So that should be interesting. He's going to have a mouthful to say. Weren't you wearing a dress during the time of Diddy?
Prosecution witness dated both of those men, and so that's the context that their names have come up. And Britney Spears' name also came up because
it's Britney,
she was
bitch.
Invited to Cassie Ventura's 21st birthday party by Combs, according to testimony. And then today, singer Chris Brown's name came up because Combs' lawyer asked Cassie if she remembered a time when Combs had been mad at her because he thought that she was dancing with this singer Chris Brown. And she said she remembered the time when he was mad at her, but she never danced with Chris Brown. We also found out that Cassie settled her bombshell lawsuit that she brought against Combs and kind of blew the lid off this whole thing and started the the floodgates of civil cases against him as well as the criminal case. That lawsuit she settled for $20 million, and we didn't know that previous to this. She had settled that within one day of filing it back in 2023. And the jury also saw still frames of the freak-offs that Ventura participated in. The public didn't see that. The media didn't have access to that. Those images were far too sexually explicit, the judge determined. So Cassie Ventura's testimony has come across, in my opinion, as credible. This is because she has been forced to answer very embarrassing and graphic and potentially humiliating questions about the things she did sexually, the sext messages that she sent Combs. And she's doing that all seemingly candidly. She's talked about having, being addicted to drugs, having to go to rehab. She said that she was dependent on opioids for a while because she would use that to come off the party drugs that she took for the freak-offs, and she would use the opiates to make her feel numb. And then some of her testimony is also backed up by another testimony as well as footage. So, for instance, her claim that he started beating.
So Mark Wiggins said that he was in court today. He said that the evidence looks bad, but Diddy's team is good. He could win this. I don't know. What do you guys think? Could he win this? Diddy. I feel like they're going to catch him with something. They can maybe catch him with something, but. Kid Cudi. I got the thumbnail ready for tomorrow. Oh, did they cut her off? Oh, it was already over.
Writing down a list for
Let's check out our friend too. This chick, she does a nice recap.
Patrick Turner Jr. Thank you for the two. It's a final video of all of them in the studio. Luigi.
I honestly, when I read a little bit of what happened today, I thought it was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like today is one of those days. Maybe you have to be in the courtroom to really feel what happened. You know, it's like an evidence day. I don't think it was really that crazy today. Let me see what she had to say.
U.S. versus Sean Combs after lunch, afternoon update from day 8. I waited till I got home. And I want to go back to the morning just for a second when the HSI special agent was testifying. I want to point out that both the government and the defense, they referenced the indictment a few times. The government referenced the indictment mainly to cross-check the evidence that they were showing us. And the defense, they referenced the indictment to show that some of the drugs that were found, certain pills like MDMA or whatever else, there was such a small amount that they were destroyed, the drugs or the pills. And I say small amount because it didn't say that exactly, but it said something along those lines. And the defense really wanted to make that clear, like, oh, there was such a little amount of drugs here that, the government was able to destroy them. Anyway, I also want to point out that in the morning, Dr. Dawn Hughes, she talked a lot about trauma bonding and how trauma bonding works. And she explained,
I guess that was good for Cassie's people to try to say that she was trauma bonding.
She went in detail about that. Oh, and then she talked a lot about PTSD because she worked with veterans and how memories are recovered, after the fact, and how PTSD, affects some of these memories. Wow, I can't talk. It's been a day. And I gotta say, it was, the testimony from, I guess, all 3 witnesses today was kind of long. The first 2 more so because HSI and, an expert, Dr. Dawn Hughes, some of that testimony can be a little bit tedious, I guess. And I think that, people were feeling it. I mentioned everybody looked kind of tired at one point. Mm-hmm. But going back to the cross, which was done by a new attorney we hadn't seen before, Jonathan Bach.
Yeah, a lot of attorneys. Diddy got attorney after attorney. When you got the money like that, I guess you want to get the best of the best.
He really seemed to focus on one thing, and this is what caused a lot of the sidebars and a lot of the objections. But he said she did this webinar or this presentation 10 years prior with this other doctor, and it was basically, it was called Expert Witness Testimony in Cases Involving Domestic Violence. So he said, you were training people on how to testify in court.
Ooh,
and she's like, well, not necessarily how to testify in court, but, how you should conduct yourself on the stand. And then he actually went through this. He's looking through, this document, and the sidebar was about the court putting the document on the screen for the jury. But the judge was like, no, you don't need to put this on the screen, because initially Dr. Hughes said she didn't really remember it. And the judge said, if she doesn't remember, you can give her the physical copy and she can look at it, but the jury doesn't need to see this. And like I said, there was a lot of sidebars. And during the sidebars, by the way, they play white noise, and the judge made a joke. He was like, I feel like we need to get some music instead of this white noise. Sorry about that. Apologize to the jury. Okay, so then he after this back and forth about the training or the webinar, he said, so most of your income comes from court-related work, would you say? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, how does that work? What's, clinical versus court? And she said, well, it's 60-40. Court 60, clinical 40. And he's like, so that's most of it. And she's like, oh, yeah. And then what did he say? Oh, he went on to talk about her meetings with the government and how there were 6 to 8 meetings. And she described herself as a blind witness. So he was kind of like a blind expert. He's like, if there's 6 to 8 meetings, why do you need that many if you're a blind expert and you don't know the details of the case, you don't know the survivors or the victims? And she said, it was just a meeting or meetings so we could sort of educate the government on how the jury should hear certain things about this, about trauma and about abuse. And, he pointed something out where he said she updated an outline for the government. And he's like, so, you are working in favor of the government here. You're updating outlines for them. And she's like, no, I'm working in favor of science. And he said, well, the science doesn't pay you, right? The DOJ pays you. And I think there was an objection there. And he said withdrawn. Now, during the redirect, the government asked Dr. Hughes have you ever worked for the defense before? Or, have you ever worked on the side of the defense? And she's like, yeah. And then she said, have you ever worked for any of these defense attorneys, pointing at Diddy's team? And she said, yes. And then during the recross, Bach got up and what did he say? Okay, he pointed out, he said, so you worked with Brian Steele. And I actually guessed this. We're not allowed to talk in the courtroom, but I wrote it down on my pad of paper and I showed it to another reporter and I was like, it's Steele. And she was like, yeah. And so he said, you were contacted by Brian Steele to testify on behalf of a woman who said she was a domestic violence victim and she shot her husband in the head 5 times. And then Dr. Hughes was like, look, I'm not really comfortable talking about this because I didn't testify in that trial. And he said, yes. Because Dr. Steele decided not to call you as a witness. He decided not to hire you. There was definitely an objection there and then a withdrawn. That was a little bit spicy. And then, yeah, he was basically done after that. But Dr. Hughes, yeah, like I said, there seemed to be a lot of issues, a lot of sidebars, a lot of objections. And at one point during a sidebar, I wish we had a lip reader because Diddy turned around to his sons, Justin and Christian, who were there, and he said something to them for probably 10 seconds. And I was dying to know what it was. I couldn't really tell, but yeah. Okay, so then the last witness we saw the day, who was questioned by Maureen Comey, was George Kaplan. He was a former assistant, and he first worked at Nickelodeon, and then he got moved over to Combs Enterprises. He was an executive assistant to someone at Nickelodeon, who then became COO at Combs Enterprises, and he worked at Combs Enterprises from December 2013 to December 2015. Now, I mentioned he worked for somebody else when he first started in December of 2013. He was the executive assistant to the COO, and then in September of 2014, he got promoted to Sean Combs' executive assistant. But let's remember, he left in December of 2015, just a few months later. He described working 80 to 100 hours per week. And he said over the course of 15 months, he made $120,000. He said a lot of the times when he was working very late, his schedule would run from 9:30 a.m. And he said the earliest he left would be 6 p.m. The latest would be 4 a.m. And he said that when he left late, it was because of late studio recording times or, nothing
quote unquote
salacious, just studio stuff. He talked about working with other assistants. He talked about, his duties, which was carrying bags, packing bags, getting Diddy to different meetings. And then he said setting up hotel rooms. And then he testified that he would set up hotel rooms for Diddy. He would get a hotel bag, and in that bag would be baby oil, candles, Diddy's clothes, corroborating what we already heard. He also said that he would clean up the hotels after Diddy stayed there. And he testified that he would clean up in order to preserve Diddy's reputation, because these hotel rooms, he said there'd be baby oil on the bed, the table, the floor. It was just, it was baby oil everywhere. He literally said that. He said he bought these supplies when he had to buy them with the corporate credit card. He testified he set up hotel rooms in LA, New York, Miami, and he corroborated the same hotels that we've heard that Diddy stays at. The Trump in New York, the Intercontinental in LA. He also discussed seeing the med bag with different drugs, but he said that he didn't see a lot of drugs besides Tylenol, Advil, and MDMA and ketamine. He didn't really see, he didn't say MDMA. He said he actually had to buy MDMA for Diddy, but he testified that this med bag, he only saw, prescriptions and Tylenol, Advil, and then he said ketamine. So who knows? But he also testified that he did have to buy drugs for Diddy on 2 different occasions, but he was basically given a number to call and he was given cash. And so he called the number, and then, that's kind of how he got these drugs. And Diddy, or the drug dealer gave him these instructions. And that's pretty much.
All right. So it's kind of an evidence day. This the expert from not Karen Reed from Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Now I wanted to show you something else. Just another little tidbit. So this lady apparently, hold on a second. Hold on. So this lady here, I haven't watched this yet. This lady here, she believes that Cassie's not a victim. Let me see what she had to say. This is all allegedly. Do not take my views or opinion. Okay.
How are we feeling about Cassie now? I just want to say this.
Tell
a long
mama.
time ago,
what you
I said, I don't believe Cassie. I don't believe she was ever a victim.
What?
And let me tell you something. It's so many people talking about she didn't want to upset him. She didn't want to this. They was texting. She was in a safe space. You mean to tell me she can leave the relationship, go get married to the help unharmed, but she was that scared of him? No. I said a long time ago and I got chewed up for it. Cassie got jealous when he saw how he put Young Miami on. She started thinking about all the disgusting stuff she was doing with him, and she left with nothing. And she like, damn, he just turned Miami up overnight. Done turned her into a millionaire overnight. Young Miami ain't even rapping no more because she got her own show. She the face of this, face of that. She was getting money. He put Miami in position, and he never put Cassie in position. Nobody is a sex slave. I'll tell you right now, I know some females who are into all that stuff that they saying. I would never expose because I'm the type that listen but don't judge. But I can tell you right now, I know some females who into everything that they're saying. Nobody's forcing them.
Oh, hell. What part is she talking about, though? Oh, maybe the peace stuff, too. Yeah, some people into that. I don't think Cassie was, but there was that one part where the guy said, well, no, it was actually her that instructed me how to do it, and she gave me instructions, supposedly, how to pee in the mouth and all that. I was like, damn, bro.
Nobody's forcing them. It's easy to paint somebody as a monster because they're doing vile acts. I know I'm turned up, and they more turned up than me. Scorpios, most Scorpios, I'm going to be so real with y'all. Scorpios are turned up to the max. I'm with whatever my man with.
Wow. Okay. Yo, whatever he's down, whatever he's into. But how far is she willing to go? So she said whatever he's into, she's into it. That's okay. Maybe that's ride or die. I don't know.
I want to do too. It ain't really too much that I wouldn't do.
So what if he said poop?
With my man.
You down with that or what?
End of the day, the males, I don't even know. So all I'm saying is, I believe they were very much consensual freaks of it all. I do believe she might experience some domestic violence just due to the fact that I know some Scorpio males are very controlling. They say that that's a part of our sign. We can get a little bit controlling. I ain't with the putting my hands on nobody, but I believe...
Shit, if you want me to put your hands on you, I do, because I'm down.
Yeah, I believe that this man put his hands on her because we saw it.
Okay.
But those freak-offs, I believe she liked to do it, just like I know some females that like to do it. I had a female try to convince me that I should get peed on by my man. Like, just try it. Let him do it. Let him put it in your face. I said, sweetheart, I use Noxzema. I refuse. He doesn't even eat healthy enough for me to be trying that.
Them chicken nuggets diet. Nah, it's not, you have to turn up your diet, vegan or something. Wow.
Let me stop. All I'm saying, and y'all can sound off below if y'all think I'm wrong. I'm not going to argue with you for your view and opinion. Cassie liked it. She's no different than Diddy. She got mad once he put Miami on. And I think that her husband was the one who wanted to push this because she went through a depression. I remember when her husband said she just out of nowhere got depressed. You know what she got depressed about, buddy? She saw when Miami said, she like golden showers. She knew Miami wasn't lying. We all thought it was a joke, but she knew Miami wasn't lying because she like golden showers too. And she start thinking about the way Diddy was doing all that he was doing, and all the cocaine that they probably were into, and all the baby oil, and all the fun drugs and money that those demonic people are into. And she got depressed because she was living a boring life that she thought she wanted. And she really didn't want that life. She wanted that nasty life.
What?
And if I'm wrong, whatever. If you think I'm wrong, fine. But I can tell you right now, and the crazy part is, the girls that I know that's into this, they probably would come on my page and be like, yup. But I wouldn't even do that because that's not my business, y'all business, or nobody's business. But I know for a fact that there are females who heavily enjoy every single thing that's being said in that video. Diddy would have never had this problem had they had. I'm done because I've been said too much. Cassie was part of it.
Oh. Okay, so that's an opinion from the other side. That's an opinion from the other side. Come on now. He gave her $20 million to keep her mouth shut. If that's not victim, I don't know what. Yeah, he did pay up. In 24 hours, he paid up. That was quick. Did we not all see what happened when she tried to leave? Ooh, the hotel, the freak off. That's a good point too. That looks really bad. The hotel thing when he grabbed her and hit her and stomped on her. If you look back, they didn't ever confirm Young Miami. He always said they were just really good friends and they dated. Since Cassie testified that she wanted a child with Diddy, I would think his new baby by the Cassie lookalike Dana Tran pushed over the edge. We got to stop letting people whose frontal lobes aren't fully developed speak on this. All right. Ooh, I know she must be getting slammed. I don't know where she posted it. I don't even know where her name is, that chick that said that, but somebody reposted her. But she's entitled to feel how she want to feel. Let me see what else. Evidence seized. Kid Cudi testifying tomorrow. I'm excited about that. I guess that's it, man. You can't even scroll Twitter without seeing some crazy stuff. So you guys know we've been covering this New Orleans, Louisiana escape, right? New Orleans, Louisiana escape. Somebody here says they posted this. Maybe this is trolling. I don't know. It says plea for surrender. Aunt of Derek Groves, Orleans jail escapee, already convicted of killing 4 people. This guy's on the loose. Last night on the Icky Mel Clips channel, I went live I did a short live, and everybody was talking about who they think would be the last one to be caught or survive. Who'd be the last one to be arrested. And we pulled up all the names and talked about their history and all the stuff. And so somebody replied to this post and said, I would have called up my auntie private and said, shut the F up before you're number 5, and hung up. Oh. Better be careful, man. Yeah, who knows? He could kill somebody else. Oof. Lord almighty. He was the most dangerous out. That means he'll kill again. Yeah, he would kill again. All right, I guess that's it for now. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I will jump on tomorrow whenever Kid Cudi testifies. I'll cover it live. Also, make sure you sign up to the mailing list. All right, sign up to the mailing list. And, all right. right, and stay tuned. Stay tuned, because who knows what could pop off tonight. Anything could pop off tonight. Anything. All right. Bye. See you guys in 5 minutes. Bye. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop. Thank you so much. Hanging out with me. All right. Bloop, 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 bloop.